This is the second of the two-part video tutorial on the TapStats application. In this video, we'll discuss the different components that make up the dashboard display. The reality is most of us are intimidated by data. We prefer colorful presentations to flat two-dimensional data tables. Our challenge in creating a dashboard display was to produce a powerful communication tool that delivers a positive message, while at the same time providing unbiased quantitative analysis that reinforces that positive message. The advantage of using this attractive dashboard layout is that your customers will very quickly gain an intuitive understanding of all the information presented and immediately understand what the impact is on their water from the presence of any of the listed substances they select. Giving your customers a chance to compare your results against the types of metrics we present here on the dashboard puts everything into perspective for them. The take-home message is that your water is safe. So let's take a closer look at the different sections here. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that we list all of the substances from your sampling schedules going back to 2008. You'll also notice that we have added two columns showing detects versus non-detects. So when your customer scrolls through very quickly down through the list, they'll be able to very quickly get a snapshot image of your detects and your non-detects. There's an old adage in medicine that says the dose makes the poison. In other words, it's not the presence of a substance that's an issue, rather it's the amount of that substance that could make it a problem. So detecting something in the water isn't an issue as long as the amount present is below the maximum allowed levels. This is the key component to the positive message, where we mention and reinforce this basic tenet throughout the different sections of the dashboard display. You'll also notice that in this section, as well as all the other sections, the question mark icons. These serve to explain to your customers in a little bit more detail what each of these sections are all about. And again, they are written in a way to push that positive message that a detect is okay as long as it's below its maximum limits. Now let's move to the right part of the screen and focus on the target zone analysis section. In this graph, you're getting a local perspective on water quality. In order to guide your customers towards a level of comfort with this line graph presentation, we introduce a simple concept to visually describe what the regulatory standards mean. We call it the target zone. As you can see, the standard for the selected substance is identified in red, extending across the top of the graph. Everything below that line is highlighted in blue to clearly illustrate the target zone area. This gives your customers an immediate intuitive understanding of detections as it relates to drinking water standards. We've also removed a lot of the confusing acronyms and abbreviations commonly used in the water industry and replaced them with simple terms. For instance, we use maximum level instead of MCL, MRDL, AL, or SMCL. For each of the years that we have data, we plot both your system's results as well as the state averages for each substance. Again, the question mark icons are used to reinforce the positive message that detections are okay as long as the standards are met, reminding the customer it's not what's detected, but how much that's important. Now that your customers have a solid understanding of the selected substance as it relates to the target zone, we bring them up to a higher level of analysis by offering them a statewide perspective in these pie chart presentations. The first pie chart on the left shows the percentage of all community water systems in the state that have detected the substance at any time since 2008. For this analysis, we only include those systems that reported sample data for the selected substance. This display for the selected substance shows that about 57% of the water systems in the state also detected this substance. To the right of this pie chart, we see another pie chart where we show the percentage of all community water systems in the state that have complied with the Selected Substances Drinking Water Standard since 2008. Here we only examine the health-based MCL, MRDL violations as well as AL exceedances. Administrative violations like monitoring and reporting violations are not included in this analysis. In this example for this selected substance, it looks like 94% of the systems since 2008 have been in compliance with the standard. The final display on the dashboard is the National Occurrence Map, and we get to that by clicking on this right pointing arrow. Here we offer an additional level of analysis that allows your customers to get a national perspective on the occurrence of the selected substance as reported in other states across the U.S. In this display, we divide the selected substance's regulatory number, the MCL, the MRDL, the AL, etc., into 4 equal parts and assign a color to each grouping. Above the map, you can see the different color groupings. Then for each state, we take the statewide average of all CWSs and assign a color based on which grouping the average value falls in. We use your state's regulatory value for the selected substance if it's different from the federal standard. The state averages are from the most recent reporting year. Your customers can click on to the question mark icon and get a description of how these color categories are divided up. Now that you have a good understanding of how the dashboard works, let's look at how a change in the profile section affects the dashboard display. For our first example, on this display you'll see arsenic has been selected. You'll see that the data that we have, the latest data that we have is from 2012. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that it's marked as a detect because we're using the most recent sampling results, and 2012, which is the most recent sampling results that we're showing, was a detect. But what if we had some sample results from, say, 2014 that's not shown here? Maybe we took some samples that were not on the compliance sampling schedule, but we would like to show those results on this screen. Well, we can very easily do that. You simply come up to the top of the screen and click on Go to Profile, where we will be directed back into the control panel where we will be able to make our changes. So we're now back in the Profile section of the Administrator Control Panel, and we want to add arsenic for 2014. Instead of clicking on the Regulated Contaminants green bar, we're just going to go ahead and click on Add New Table Entry, and we come into the New Table Entry page. On the left, we can search by the contaminant name, or we can break it down by its category and class if we're not sure of the spelling. But we'll go ahead and start entering in arsenic. And we just have to enter in the first few letters, and the drop-down menu shows the first entry. And we select it, and you'll notice that the category, the class on the right-hand side has been filled in for us. And we want to select the year. We select 2014, and you'll notice that we now have an empty box to enter our yearly average, and we have a unit of measure underneath that. It's important to note the unit of measure because that's how the display is being shown, and you have to make sure that you report your average number in the same unit of measure. When you click into the box to begin entering in your number, you'll get a window that opens that reminds you to enter your data in the correct unit of measure. We click on OK. This will be easy since we want to report a non-detect for our 2014 sampling. So we enter 0, we click Save, and we're done. And to go in and confirm that the change was made, we click on Regulated Contaminants, we click on Inorganic, and we scroll down through the list until we find arsenic 2014 entry. You'll also notice that a state average has been filled in automatically from the database. Now you'll notice that if we chose to, we could click on to the pencil icon on any of these table entries and make additional changes. But I won't do that in this example. I think it's pretty self-explanatory how to do that. But just know that you'll be able to change things like your system average. So if you see a reported value that is incorrect, you can change it. You can also change, again, the typical source entry, or in the information column, if you have a better link where you would like your customers directed to if they have any questions. So for this example, we will just leave it as adding a 2014 entry for arsenic. If we come back up top of the screen, and we'll click on the dashboard link, and we'll go back into the dashboard, where we then select arsenic to see the change. And here you'll notice when the page loads that we have the new entry for 2014. And if you mouse over, and you'll see that it is 0, a non-detect, and also the state average is showing above that entry as well. You'll also note that in the drinking water profile on the left, arsenic has been now indicated that it's a non-detect, as before it was a detect, if you remember, because the most recent sampling result shows it as a non-detect, so the drinking water profile was updated properly. If you go to the top of the screen and point your mouse pointer on the question mark icon next to arsenic, you'll see specific information about arsenic, and this would be the case for any of the selected substances. I direct your attention down to typical source and the active link, which is marked as more. The typical source, if we had made a change when we were in the profile, obviously the updated typical source would show here. I'll leave that to you to play with. The more link is what I want to direct your attention to, because that is really the link that will send your customer to get more information about the specific selected substance, so they're not calling you looking for more information. We give you the ability to change that if you feel that there is a better resource other than the one that we entered in as the default link. So I just want to mention here that whatever you have entered in, whether it's the default standard one that we entered and offered or a new one that you prefer, when your customer clicks on the more link, they will go to that page. I'll finish off this example by just quickly showing you how simple it is to delete a particular entry and the effect. So again, let's go back and remove the 2014 arsenic data that we entered. So we click on Go to Profile. We go back to the profile, we click on regulated contaminants, we click on inorganic class, we find arsenic 2014, we click the icon of the trash barrel, we get a confirmation message, we answer yes, we do want to delete it, and it's gone. To confirm that, we go back to the dashboard by clicking the dashboard link at the top of the screen, and we select arsenic in the drinking water profile, and you'll see that the 2014 entry has been removed from the target zone analysis, and the check mark in the drinking water profile has been moved back over to detected from the non-detected, because the most recent sample result is from 2012. In my last example in this tutorial, I want to show you how simple it is to turn off the different displays in the dashboard for your purchased water sources if your water system does purchase water. You may decide at some point that you wish not to show a particular purchased water source's data and only show your own. Well, it's very simple to do that. In this display, you'll notice that there are no purchased water sources shown. It's just the City of Almonville Water Department. Well, we're going to go back into the account page to make that change and to turn on a purchased water source that we originally turned off. So we go to Profile link, we come back to Profile, We click on Account. We scroll down until we come to the Purchase Water Sources. We click on the Edit link next to that. And again, as you saw in the previous video, where you see the two different scenarios, your water system is shown on the left and any purchase water systems are shown on the right. Right now, the selection for the purchase water source is off, but we want to turn it on. So we simply click on the on button, it turns green, and now the City of Albertville Water Department will be displayed in the dashboard. So when we click on Save, that selection will be retained, and we go back into the dashboard. You'll now notice that we have two tabs at the top left showing our water system and water we purchase. Your customers can simply click on to either of those links and they will be able to see the different sampling results from both your water system and any of your purchased water sources. And like I said before, if at any point you want to turn that off, it's as simple as going back into the account page and toggling that on-off switch. You might even choose at some point to show only purchased water sources data. That's completely up to you. You have the ability to be able to turn your water system display off as well. If you still have questions about any part of the TapStats application, please don't hesitate to contact us at any time.